Hello and welcome, and you may have noticed if you're observant that I am currently lying down, which is appropriate because at the moment that is how I'm spending most of my afternoons, to be perfectly honest, and that is the point of this video. When I first got diagnosed with MS, I didn't know what it was, so I thought I would do a video or a couple of videos or several videos depending on how it goes to actually explain from my experience MS, and maybe it will help others who are suffering with the condition, and maybe it will help explain it to those who, like me, before I was diagnosed, didn't really know anything apart from having heard, obviously, of the name of the condition. Now, MS, or multiple sclerosis, is it's basically the immune system, from what I can tell, attacks the nervous system in the body. That's a oversimplification. There are different types of MS, and that makes it kind of difficult to sort of say, well, this is my experience, this is what you can expect, because everybody is different. For example, my MS is mostly inside my head, and I'll explain that a little bit further later in the video. And there are others who have a similar experience. There's the most famous is probably Christina Applegate. Sorry about that in the background. She has very similar MS to me, and we have lesions inside our brain and sores, and in my case I had what can be best explained as a bit of an explosion in my head, and it to all the world seemed like a stroke. So I'll take you right back to the beginning, to what happened and what came just before it. In this video I will basically lead you up to the diagnosis, and then I will pick up the story and carry on later, and then explain how since 2018 the MS has evolved and affected me, and how it's probably going to affect me later will follow. Okay, so I first became fully aware when I came back from a road trip to Sweden, which was exhausting and stressful. I emphasize the stressful because I've been told that stress is not good for MS. It triggers it. But basically, my experience began like this. I came back from a very tiring road trip, very stressful on the way back, because we were trying to get to the ferry, and it was a road trip from Sweden to the UK, so we're talking about 1,000 miles, okay, 1,500 miles or thereabouts in the return journey. So, needless to say, that's stressful. And, we were in a convoy, which makes it even more stressful, and we didn't have communication between the cars, which didn't help. So, that was a stressful trip. And I think that was one of the triggers. I'd also had an emotional shock. Someone I was in love with told me whilst I was on that trip, whilst I was talking to a friend who was with us, I got the text saying that she just wanted to be friends, and I think that emotionally really hit me. I mean, I was a wreck, and I think that was a trigger. So anyway, we're coming back, very tired, very stressful journey, purely because of the stress of navigation and getting home, and there was a group of us, and we were all really just the journey was stress. Okay, so that's okay. I get back home, I go back to work, which involved me driving from location to location, and at each location I would walk around, check the location, get back in the car, drive to the next location. And I was at the last location, and it was on one of the first days back. And basically I was at the last location, I was sitting in the car, and I felt cramp in my legs, and I thought, oh, I better get up and have a quick walk around just to loosen off my legs a little bit before I drive. And I found I was dragging my leg around, like it was dead. It was in pain. It was dead. I could still move it. I could still wiggle my toes and my feet and all that, but I was dragging my leg around, and it was like, I don't know, it was just really strange. Got back in the car and sat for a few minutes and thought, well, I'd better drive home before this gets any worse. I thought at the time that maybe I'd got a trapped nerve in my neck or something like that, some sort of sciatica or something. So I went home, and I drove home, and there was no incident driving home. No change in vision. I've got a cousin with MS, and they first found out they had MS when they got tunnel vision, but there was no change to my vision. And I got home, and I sat in a chair, and then I noticed that the numbness in my leg is now in my right side, and suddenly I couldn't move my leg at all, and I couldn't move my right side, my arm or my hand, and I thought, oh, this trapped nerve is a bad one. So I phoned up work and I said, look, this has happened, might be nothing. And my supervisor, to his credit, said, you'd better call 101. Call the medical 101 and get some advice, because it could be something more serious. And I said, well, my whole right side has gone. He said, are you sure it's not a stroke? I said, well, I've looked in the mirror and my face hasn't dropped and I can speak, so I don't think so. Anyway, called 101. Next thing, an ambulance is rushing out to me, and I'm taken to hospital. They rush me in for a brain scan, and they keep me overnight. I'm thinking, oh, bloomin' heck. So I had the brain scan, and they said this. They showed me this brain scan, and it's like someone has let off a flash bulb in my brain. It's like, what, big on the left. It says big flash bulb's gone off. Looked really scary, and they said, well, it looks like you've had a stroke. Oh, God. Right, okay. So that was a worry. So they kept an eye on me for a day or so, and then sent me home. And the right-hand side was just dead. It's just like a stroke. My right arm, my right leg, the right of my body was just gone. So what followed was a few months of basically relearning to walk, relearning to use my right hand, and all the things that go with a stroke. It was just a real wake-up call. Eventually I learnt to walk again, but I couldn't walk very far. In fact, I could walk as far as the local village and back, which is about 15 minutes. Okay, round trip. that's as far as I could walk, and by the time I got back I was dragging my leg again, and I was told, watch out for dragging your leg, that means you're tired, stop. So anyway, so I reported all of this to work. Once I'd recovered to the point that I could walk again, but with reduced distance, I was basically back at work, and I was given understanding that I needed a slightly lighter workload, which they duly did, and I carried on for as long as I could for about another year, but I noticed it getting harder and harder to walk around the locations, to the point that it just became impossible. And I'd saved up and bought drones, and I started doing drone surveys for a while, which is something I could do. I could drive up to somewhere, send the drone up, do the survey, land the drone, go home. Did all the certification, the C of C certification, and that seemed to be that. Meanwhile, a neurologist had been looking at my scans, and he piped up and said, well, actually, you might not have had a stroke. You better come and see me. And he did a few more tests, another brain scan, and he said, well, what you've had is, and he described it, it's a very long word, and he basically said, if it doesn't happen again, you may never have it again, but you haven't had a stroke. Basically, you've had an instant in your brain, and basically your part of your brain isn't there anymore. It's gone, and your brain has basically rewired. And the way he described it was genius. He said the nervous system from your brain to your body, to control the right side of your body, if you consider the original wiring as motorway, the brain is now rerouting all the traffic through B roads. So all the motorway traffic is going through B roads, and when you are tired, and you feel the ache in your legs like cramp. It isn't cramp, it's basically your brain's tired, so your brain is sending false messages that your leg's hurting. There's nothing wrong with your leg, but the nerves in your brain are damaged, and basically the brain is struggling to send the signals, and it's taking more effort, and it's making your brain tired. And I thought, right, okay. He said, but if you don't have another instant like that, then you're okay. But if you do, then I have to re-diagnose you as having multiple sclerosis. Anyway, time went on, and it gradually got worse. The distance that I could walk over time has got less and less. So by 2019, October, I had to leave work. Couldn't do it anymore. Okay? Or was it 2018? I can't remember. But I had to leave work because I couldn't physically continue. Then I think we got as far as COVID, actually. And I found that COVID, being home all the time, was a relief. Because I'd been finding it a real struggle. But when I went back to work, I found it harder and harder to walk, and I had to leave. I had to finish and start the drone stuff. As it got worse, the neurologist saw me again, and he said, well, it looks like you have got progressive multiple sclerosis. And he said, at the moment, we've done another brain scan, and it looks like it hasn't progressed past your neck. And basically the warning sign for them is if there are signs of it going past your neck, then that means it accelerates through your nervous system in your body and eventually everything shuts down. But what's happened with me is that the nerves, basically, what multiple sclerosis is doing is, if you think of nerves as electrical wires with the plastic coating over the copper, instead of the plastic coating, the nerves have like a fatty cover all around them. And the multiple sclerosis attacks the fatty protection for the nerves, and that leaves the nerves exposed. And so you're probably asking, why is he saying all this from a bed? Well, since 2018, the distance that I could walk has got less and less and less. It started off that when a year ago, we're now in 2026 January. A year ago, I could just about drive to a supermarket, park in the disabled bay, and if I worked out a route for the items that I needed, I could chart a route around the supermarket, so long as I didn't deviate away from the basics that I needed to get. I could get my stuff and get back to the car, just about, have a 15-minute rest and then drive home. This year, 1 year on, I can walk down the stairs, do something for about 5 minutes, then I've got to sit down. I can sit down for a little while and then I have to lie down. By the time you get to about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, in the evening, basically, after I've had my meal, I come upstairs and I lie down, because I know if I don't lie down, I won't be able to do anything at all the next day. And if I do have an active day, say I have to go out somewhere, I visit someone, or I do something for a day, or we go somewhere for a day, even if I'm not walking around when I get there, I know that for 3 days I'm bedridden. That's the situation I'm in now. But going back to the very beginning, there were signs that I see now that maybe I didn't realise before. And for God's sake, don't assume if you have these symptoms that you've got MS. But I'm just saying, this is what I realise now that I didn't realise back then. Because before the road trip on the same year, I did a long distance flight to South America. And during the flight, I found that on the seats, I got cramp in the back of my legs. And this is something that hadn't happened before. I'd done this flight before, twice. And I never had this problem then. But now I had this cramp in my legs and I was really uncomfortable. I ended up, the flight attendants gave me cushions because I was so uncomfortable. Now, that hadn't happened before. And it's the same cramp that I get if I sit too long in a chair. It's the same cramp if I stand too long. I can stand for about 5 minutes. I can sit for about an hour. But then I have to lie down for 3 hours. And that's basically the situation I'm in now. But I realise now that that cramping was the first sign. So maybe something had started earlier. I also noticed that I did start getting tired a lot quicker. And I'm thinking that maybe this is something that was brewing, something that was coming along quietly in the background. Anyway, to the current situation. My day now looks like this. I get up in the morning, if I'm lucky, because quite often I have pain in my legs at night that keeps me awake until about 3 or 4. If that happens, I wake up around midday. I always worry if I've got an appointment at, say, a doctor's or somewhere in the morning, because if I've had one of those nights, I'm not sure if I'm going to wake up in the morning. Then, say I have a good night and I get up about 10 o'clock. So I go downstairs, I sit down for about an hour. It takes my eyes longer to wake up. I wouldn't drive until at least an hour after I've woken up, because my eyes take longer to adjust. That might be an old age thing, but I just find it takes me longer for my eyes just to wake up, be back to their normal selves. I've had my eyes regularly tested, and the prescription is getting more and more short-sighted, but that seems to be just an age thing. I don't think that's... They've checked me, I've told them I have MS, and they said there is no sign at the moment of the MS affecting my eyes. So the opticians are very good. They're keeping an eye on that. I know there's lesions in my brain, and I know that a light bulb could go off again at some point and give me another stroke-like experience. I also know that my right leg now, instead of me dragging it around when I'm tired, even when I'm not tired, I'm walking with a limp. It's always tired, my right leg. It doesn't matter what distance. It's like the cramp after you've run a long way all of a sudden, or you've done an event, or you've done a long distance bike ride. It's the same feeling, the same cramp in my right leg if I do just a little bit. The distance that I can walk now is probably half of that supermarket that I mentioned earlier. You think about a big supermarket, I could only realistically walk around half of it now, and then I'll be dragging my leg all the way back to the car. I use a shopping trolley to lean on. I am desperately trying to reapply. I've got PIPs, I've got the lower rate of PIPs. I am trying to reapply for the higher rate of PIPs so that I can get mobility. Not to get a car. I've got a car. I can't afford to run the car, but I've got a car that needs to be fixed and MOT'd, ready to drive again. But I can't afford that because I'm living hand to mouth at the moment. But if I were to get mobility, I would get a mobility scooter, so that I wouldn't need a car to be able to go to the village. I could get on the mobility scooter and go around the shops with that. So that would save both petrol, because I'm using my father's car. It would also save money, but also it would allow me some freedom to actually get some fresh air and get out. I feel trapped at home at the moment, and it's really frustrating because I'm desperate to be able to do things. It's so frustrating. You have a nice sunny day and you think, I could walk to Easton Ferry, it's 2 miles away. And I can't. I can't walk much further than the corner of the road, which is about the distance, twice the distance from the front door to the gate. And then the corner of the road is with the second house to the corner of the road. That's as far as I can walk. And then I have to return, and I'm dragging my leg all the way back home. and so I spend every evening here lying in my bed, purely because I know that if I try to do anything after this time of the day, I'm just too tired, and I end up forcing myself to do things. Say I'm painting something, a little model or something, and I want to finish it. If I force myself to stay up into the evening the next day, I know that I'll have a pain during the night, and I won't be up until lunchtime. And then I'll have a few hours, and then at tea time, I'm back to bed. And that's my life at the moment. I'm determined to beat it as best I can, and presuming there's no cure, I have to make the most of every single second. I'm not going to let this beat me, but without that assistance, without the money to get that mobility scooter or electric wheelchair, either, I'm facing a situation where I just can't go anywhere or do anything. I'm housebound. Because you've got to think about how much petrol costs to go anywhere. And if I did go anywhere, I'd be stuck at the car because I can't walk out of the car park to go anywhere. Without an electric wheelchair that folds up and goes in the car, I can't drive somewhere like, say, Chester or Manchester or Liverpool or somewhere where you've got to park in a car park and walk somewhere. I can't. I can't go on the train because I can't walk to the station. I can't get on the bus because I can't walk to the bus stop. The bus stop is too far. It's halfway down the street. And yet, I don't have the means to I've had a letter from the specialist to say this is the condition that this gentleman has. There is no cure. Prognosis is it's only going to get worse. And the prognosis is that gradually the MS will get worse in my head, and eventually it will work its way down the spinal cord, and eventually I will lose the ability to walk. I'm already starting to get the same numbness in my arms that I've been getting for the last 2 or 3 years in my legs. It's now reached my arms. So I know it's moving. And long term, I will lose the control of my bowels, which is quite scary, and the rest of the organs will kind of follow suit, the furthest away from the brain, and it'll work its way back, and you can do the maths yourself. Eventually it'll reach the heart, and so that's the future. So I've got to make the most of now, which means that I need that bloody mobility scooter. I need that electric wheelchair so that I can actually be useful to my family. That I can be useful to myself. That I can actually have some kind of life whilst I still have some kind of life. So that's the battle that I'm going through at the moment. On Wednesday, I have a meeting with the PIPS people at the job centre, having been turned down for the higher rate again. After I appealed, I then appealed again, and I basically need to find out how I can appeal via the tribunal, if that option is still open to me. I'm not happy. But at the same time, I can understand from a paper pushing, a box ticking point of view, how can I prove, what can I say, what can I do to prove my condition beyond what the specialist says, and they just say, aren't you taking any more pills? Is there anything else wrong with you? Do you have anything else, any kind of evidence beyond what the specialist has said? Well, I said, the next step is basically the funeral director. From incurable disease to the end, there is nothing in between except a decline. And that's what I've got to communicate to them somehow. I don't know how. But anyway, I'm not going to let this beat me. I'm going to carry on making videos, and that's another reason I want to get a mobility scooter. I want to get a mobility chair, because I can share with you my experiences with the mobility scooter, with the mobility chair, with living with a disability. That's what this channel's all about. I want to help other people by showing that you can beat the system. You can beat the disease. You can make a life. But you need help. And at the moment, I ain't got that help. And I haven't got the money to buy the equipment that I need to live. And I'm going to continue with this battle. And I reach out to everybody who's out there. Leave your comments below. Have you got MS? Have you been diagnosed with MS? Have you got a relative or friend with MS and you didn't know what it was? Has this video helped you understand it? Do you have any questions? Leave your comments in the comment section below and I will do my best to answer. I hope this video has been helpful. It has certainly helped me, because I have got to make one of these evenings stuck on my bed, which is basically all I do. I've not got a TV in here. I basically watch YouTube, or I have a computer in the corner of the room with a chair. On a good night, I can edit some YouTube that I've filmed, and most of the stuff I film now is done with archive photos, archive footage, because I can't get out and about to film. That's another thing I would like to do. I would like to be able to go out and film the sort of stuff that I was doing before. And with a mobility, a motorised electric chair or a mobility scooter, I'd be able to get out. I know it's a little thing, but it means a lot to be able to carry on doing what I love. So if my videos here help you, I've achieved something. Anyway, apologies for the visuals. I'm wearing a scruffy jumper, which is basically about keeping warm, and I was painting models earlier, which is something I can do sitting down, which isn't too tiring. Kind of sums up my situation at the moment. Anyway, hopefully, that's another thing as well. We are now in January, and this weather really makes it worse. I mean, I am exhausted all the time. The distance that I can walk is appreciably less in the cold weather than the warm weather. Another person with MS suggested to me having a long bath in a very, very hot bath, almost scalding hot, and soak in that for as long as you can. And boy, does that work. Oh, the aches go away. It's like heaven. So if that helps somebody else, brilliant. I just need to get out. I need to be able to film. Just film getting out and about and places you can go with. A wheelchair would be brilliant. I can't do that at the moment. So anyway, so that's part of the reason why there isn't that much video on here. And hopefully I've helped somebody with this video. And if somebody out there thinks that they can help me, I'm all ears. So, without further ado, thank Thank you for watching. Please give us a thumbs up. That tells people that there's something here that you've enjoyed. And please hit the bell, hit the drop down, hit all, and I will give an update. I've got an appointment this coming Wednesday with the PIPS people at the job centre. I've got someone driving me there. I will be able to walk from the car into the job centre if we can park outside. Otherwise, they're just going to have to do a hit and run and drop me off and drive off. And I'll go in, have my appointment, come out, and I'll know then what I need to get to provide the information. I can understand their point of view. They've got boxes to tick, and they want evidence to prove my situation. But who's going to say what my situation is? No one's observing me to comment. Frustrating. Very, very frustrating. Anyhow, I've waffled on too long. Do give us a thumbs up and hit that bell. It helps enormously. If we can get to 1,000 subscribers, I will use this channel to help you work out ways of beating disability. We will try devices. We will try mobility scooters. We will try electric chairs. And we will tell you what we've discovered. So if we can help, thumbs up. Anyway, take good care. Have a very good 2026, and I wish you all good health.